this function called config. If you save, now you can really see that value because you can read it, and with the help of this, now it is able to connect to that database, right? Okay, so here it just says MongoDB connected. This is going to be the database setup that we just handled. I think the next step would be create the authentication routes. So let's just handle that as well. Instead of just a hello page, let's create a route. So I'll just say app.use and let's say /API/auth. And in this case, we'd like to just see the auth routes, which is going to be a file that we'll create. So let's go under the backend, first create a routes folders, and here I'll just say auth.js. You can just leave it like this. The convention that I am using is this auth route.js, and it is really convenient for me just from here understand this is a route file. But as I said, this is a regular file, regular JavaScript file. If you delete this part, this should be working exactly the same. Okay, so this is just my preference, just to keep that in mind. And from that file, we'd like to maybe import Express. Okay, and then I'll just say const router and express.router. So we'll just say export default is router so that we can really import it from other files. So let's just say import auth routes from this location. There we go. And now in this route, we can really put all of our routes, and I'll just explain what this means. Let's say router.get to, let's say, /signup. In this case, we would like to run this function. This is going to just say sign up route. Let me go ahead and duplicate this one twice. Let's say login, and we'll just have the logout. And let's say this is the logout route, and this is the login route. Okay, so what we have done is that just prefix all these routes with API/auth. Let's just try to see all of them in action. If we visit API/auth/signup, we're going to get this response, and for the login this, and for the logout this one. Let's see, I'll go here, let's say API auth and signup. Okay, here it says signup route for the login and for the logout, and we'll like to create functions for each of these controllers. So I'll just go under the backend and just say controllers folder, and I'll just say auth.js. This is how we can put it if you really want to, but I would suggest you to put this because why not? This looks really cool, right? Auth controller.js. And this is also a convention that people use, and I really like this. So here, what we'll be doing, instead of putting the function here, by the way, this could be also an async function. This is just a normal function that you would have. What I'll be doing is just delete it from here and create a separate function specifically on this file. Let's say export const signup. This is going to take the request and response, and let's just make this to be async because we'll be using await later in the video, and we can just say response.send signup route. So let's duplicate this twice, which is going to be first for the login and for the logout. I'll say login, and let's go here, let's say this is the logout. There we go. Now we can just go here and import the signup function from the auth controller.js file. Make sure you put the extension. Let's delete this, just say login and logout. Okay, so this is the route setup that we just created for the authentication. And I think next thing could be where we'd like to just build the user collection, right? For this, we can really create a folder called models. And the first model we'll just have is going to be user. So let's say user.model.js. And so like another convention is that you just put it capitalized, such as user.js, and this is how people also been using. But again, this is what I'd like to use, user model.js. Even though logo is a bit different, this is just a regular JavaScript file. I just got this icon because I am using this extension called grade VS Code extensions, or I'm sorry, VS Code grade icons. I am using this one, that's why I see all these folders and icons. Okay, just to keep that in mind. And now we can just create this user model by using Mongoose. Okay, so import Mongoose from Mongoose. The very first thing you would like to do is just create a user schema. So let's say new Mongoose schema, and this takes an object and a second object. This is optional, and let's just put it right now where we'll just say timestamps is going to be equal to true. By using this gives you the created at and updated at fields. So let's say created at and updated at fields will be automatically added into the document, and this will be added because we just added this timestamps, and once we use it, I think we'll just see that in action. Now each user will have an email, right? So I'll just say email, and this is going to be type of string, and let's say this is going to be required, as well as this is going to be unique. Oops, let's say unique. And each user will also have a password. Let's say this is going to be type of string and required. Okay, and then after the password, each user will have a name. So let's say this is also going to be type of string and required. Now, what else they will have is going to be the last login date. So let's say this type is going to be date, and I don't know, like, should this be required? Well, not really. So let's say the default value could be date.now, right? Or you could leave it like null. Doesn't really matter. You can, really just leave it anything. Let's just say date.now, because this just makes sense a lot, right? This is the one that makes sense in this case. Then we'll have a field called is verified. This is going to be Boolean, so that we can really check if user's account is verified or not. So true or false. By default, this is going to be false. And then we're going to have a couple of different fields. Let me just put them in and just try to explain. Okay, so we'll have reset password token. Since we are just putting only the type, we don't really need to open up an object. Here we have multiple different fields such as default and type, and even like unique, required. So when you have more than once, you can just open up an object, but here we just put the type only. This is fine. Okay, so we're gonna have a reset password token for each user, so that when they want to update their password, we can really update this value. And to make this secure, we will expire this maybe, let's say, after 1 hour, right? And we will send them a verification token to be able to verify their accounts, and this is going to also expire, let's say, after 1 day or maybe 6 hours, just to make it a little bit more secure as well, right? So this is the schema that we just have. It is really basic, not really anything complicated, just a couple of fields for each user. And we can just say const user now, and mongoose.model create a user model with this schema that we just created. And to be able to use this user model, let's just export it so that we can use it in different files. Okay, we can save this and maybe just start with the authentication process, which is going to be sign up first. And while we're here, let's just update this port to be 5000. And instead of putting it like this, we can create a environment variable for this as well. So I'll just say const port is going to be coming from process.env port, and let's just say if this is undefined, right, for some reason this might be empty, then we'll just fall back this with 5000. Okay, let's just get this, paste it, and instead of this 3000 hard-coded value, we can just really get that from the port variable. And let's create that. I'll just say port 5000. Okay, so we can, I think, save this and just start with the sign up route. And also let's delete this, we don't really need it. That was just for testing purposes. And as we build any of these endpoints, we will be using like a desktop application called Postman. From this, we can really test all of our endpoints. So this is a desktop application that is completely free. I mean, at least it has a free version that we'll be using. This is what I'll be doing later in the video. Okay, so I think we can now just start with the sign up process. So to get started with this function, I'll first delete everything and just say try and catch. In the try, we would like to just get some values from the user. Maybe we can really put it above the try. So user will send us some fields, right? Such as email and password and name. And we can extract all of them from the request.body. And to be able to make this work, you need to add a middleware from this file to this file called app.useExpressJSON. So this will allows us to parse, let's say, incoming request with JSON payloads, or let's just say from the incoming requests, which is going to be under the request.body. Okay, so this is really what that does, and the data should be in the format of JSON. Okay, if you save this now, we can really grab these data from the client or from the user. Then in the try, we would like to just check for some validations. Let's just say if email is not provided, or if password is not provided, or name, right? In this case, we can just really throw a new error, which will be handling it in the catch. Let's say all fields are required. Okay, then we'll just go below and just check for the user if it already exists or not. I'll say user already exists, and we'll just check it with the email. So let's say await user, and let's maybe shrink this and just make sure you imported the user model from the user model.js and put the extension at the end. So we'll say user.find1 with the email that is matching with the one that user just sent it, right? So this is gonna find that email or that user. If it exists, we can throw an error, right? So you can throw it or return a response from here as well. So let me just show you both of the alternatives. So let's say res.status 400 JSON. You can say message user already exists, and you can even put some success field. Let's just say success is gonna be false. Okay, so you can do the same thing for this one, or you can really catch it in the catch block. So here you would say something like res.status of 400 and just send the message that is coming from the error, right? And now that we just check for the user, we can hash the password. So I'll just say hashed password, and we'll be using bcrypt package for this. So I'll just say import bcrypt from bcrypt.js. That was the package that we installed. You can call this as bcrypt.js, but I just want to call it as bcrypt, and or let's just be consistent. I'll just say bcrypt.js and call the hash function. I'll just say hash the password with a salt. So you can really just put a number. So let's just say 10, and this should be fine. So let's say user passed something like 1 2 3 4 5 6. We're going to hash this to be not readable. Okay, so that would be maybe looking something like this, where user has no idea that is readable. So we'll just see this in action in a little bit, and we'll like to do this so that we just follow the best practices, because you don't really want to save the password as it is. And this has a couple of reasons. The most important one is being that if your database is stolen, they shouldn't be see the password of all the users. And I think we'll just see this in action. Let's say after we created the hashed password, we can create a user, right? I'll just say const user, and we'll say new user, where we can put an object. So let's just say email. This is the email that user passed. Then for the password, this is going to be equal to the hash password, right? And the name, let's say we also want to just create a verification code, and I think we forgot to do this. Let's go here and just say const verification, instead of token, let's just say code doesn't really matter. Let's say generate